and welcome back to the TheBotTalk. In today's episode we have Curty back on the show. If you guys haven't watched Curty's first episode on the TheBotTalk, I highly recommend you go ahead and watch that, because this episode is going to act as a continuation from that previous episode. So if you want to go ahead and learn about its origin, how he got into the scene, how Peachy came to be, then I highly recommend going down below in the description and checking out that episode, and then going ahead and checking out this episode. But I wanted to begin this episode with the overall scene of just speaking about how Peachy himself and everything's grown since the last time we spoke, which is over a year ago now. So the first question I have for Curty is, what has been your focus since the last time we spoke, whether it's personal life, Peachy related, just overall?
Yeah, I've been extremely busy over the last year or so since I relocated in November to a small town in the Midlands. And then more recently, I ended up buying my first home with my girlfriend in September. So I've been a bit more focused on getting the house ready and obviously innovate a new idea for Peachy and keeping us ahead of the competition. I think the latest thing we've released for Peachy was the mobile application revamp, which has seen a lot of success on both Supreme and the browser module, which supports IDAS and easy supply.
Yeah, definitely. One of the things I did want to get into is that obviously you've gone ahead and bought a house, which to anyone, regardless if you're in this scene or outside of this scene, buying a house, your first ever house, is a very big thing, and that is definitely one topic I do want to jump into. So at the moment, your main source of income, I'm presuming, is Peachy. Like, that's your main focus. That's essentially your job. Very similar to what a lot of people do in this community, because these companies make a lot of money. They make a ton of money, and it's more beneficial to run these companies instead of having a job in most cases. So when it comes to obviously handling Peachy, but also handling your personal life, allowing time off, and also making these big moves in your personal life, how have you balanced that all whilst also keeping Peachy at the top?
I've just tried to keep some free time, like at the end of every day, whether it's like an hour or two before bed, just to like relax with my girlfriend and my dog. Just obviously working 12 hours a day can just get draining, as you can imagine. So I think it's just essential just to take breaks and don't just sit at your desk 24/7. It's not going to benefit anyone.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when it comes to this entire scene, like me personally, I do a few roles in different type of groups. Like I work with Peachy, I work with Cop Supply, I run the TheBotTalk, I do a bunch of stuff. I'm a student as well, so I don't spend as much time as you do at your desk, but it does get draining. And I feel like the main thing is, like, we're not even moving about. Like, if you worked at a store, for example, and you're stacking shelves,
you're on your feet, yeah, you're doing something, yeah, you're socializing.
Yeah.
And then when you're doing this, you literally start, I presume most people are sat in a box room, just, zoned out. And it's just not great for anyone's like health in general, never mind just the whole works of it all.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as technology has advanced and as times have gone on, like back in the day, like maybe like 10 years ago when I was a kid, the main point that parents used to make to their kids is that don't spend time on your looking at a screen because it's bad for your eyes.
I would say, like, back when bear in mind I'm 25, so I'm quite a lot older than most people in this community. But when I was growing up, I was never really on my PC, or I was always out and about playing football or climbing trees and that kind of shit. And that didn't really change until when I was about 14, 15, when I got into video games, like properly. So, and then even then, that was only like for 3 or 4 years before I was in my late teens and I was doing the same thing, going out drinking and whatnot as everyone else does. So I think it's quite a weird like contrast in how people like us have grown up, who are like a bit older, compared to those who have grown up like in the last 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, like when I was a kid, I'm 17, so I feel like me personally, I was right at the edge of that transition between technology always being in your face and being outside. So when I was a kid, like my mom would give me an hour on the PlayStation and said, yo, you have to go outside, just do something. So obviously like climbing trees, riding bikes, breaking into places that you're not meant to be, like all that type of stuff.
Man.
Exactly. Like, and then kids these days, like my brother, he's 2 and like he already knows how to operate an iPhone. It just blows my mind.
He won't have that fun of one day going out at like 8 a.m. in the morning with all his friends on their bikes and just riding 15 miles to nowhere. It's just part of growing up that they're all going to miss out on.
Yeah, like there were times when I was a kid where we literally just jump on our scooters and bikes, go flying in one direction, and like 4 hours later just be like, where are we? Like we no idea where we are.
and that was part of, like, just being a kid. And nowadays, all they do is play video games or sit on watch Netflix and shit. And I just think it's really weird. Like I don't understand it, man.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that like technology has to advance in a certain way, but like personally, I didn't have internet in my house till I was 14. Like when I was 14, that's when we got my first ever internet provider, and that's when I first got access to the internet. Like my brother,
Exactly, yeah.
yeah, like my brother's had internet since day one. Like as soon as he's been able to interact with the TV and stuff, like he's always had access to it. So
Yeah,
I don't
and
know.
kids nowadays pick up really fast, like all that kind of stuff. Like it's crazy, man. Like you see, like actual children, like 4 or 5 year old, handling iPads and iPhones like it's nothing.
Yeah, it's crazy. I feel like obviously it's the way it's designed and stuff. Like the way society is built now, it's all built around technology.
Oh,
Technology
for
is
sure,
like,
yeah.
yeah, and obviously it has its benefits and its drawbacks, which is what we were talking about, obviously on our health. But I feel like we're gonna see if obviously you do it in moderation. So with your job, you need to be on your computer a lot of the time,
Yeah.
and I think it comes down to a trade-off. So you're saying, okay, I'm trading off a bit of I don't know if it's mental health or like health for your eyes,
Probably
but
both, isn't it? Because you got to, if you're
yeah.
sat down all the time, you're going to be damaging your back, your legs, your eyesight, obviously, your mental health. There's a lot of things like that add up.
Definitely. I mean, like, at 9 to 5, you clock in at 9, you have your coffee, you sit down on the computer, you do it, you clock out, and it's fine. But when it comes to this type of job, it's hard, especially if your setup's in your room. Like, my setup's in my room because obviously I don't have my own house. So
Yeah.
I kind of find it difficult to break up time.
Yeah, well, basically the first 3 or 4 houses I've lived in when I was moved out at 19, um, I always had like a separate office space. So when I had that, it meant I had somewhere where I slept, and then somewhere where I worked, and it was that nice little different areas that meant I wasn't stuck in one room, which is a big difference to everything. And then when I relocated to the Midlands last November. I got like a little one-bed cottage, and it was basically the bedroom was joined onto the office. So I was working where I was sleeping, which took a toll on me because I don't like the idea of waking up and literally I'm not even leaving the room. I'm literally going 6 meters down the road, like down the room to get into the office. And yeah, I couldn't do that from like a bedroom point of view now, where people are sleeping and then working in the same room. It's just numbing.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, me personally, I go out a decent amount. Obviously, it's gone down because of COVID. But obviously, I go to the gym 5 times a week. I do stuff outside. But like my bed's like a meter from my desk, so like it's literally jump out of bed, jump on my desk, work. There's no real separation. But I feel
Yeah, it
like
just feels awful, man.
yeah, definitely, because like in your head, like my parents say it to me all the time, and I know a lot of people listening to this can resonate with it. You come down to eat, and then your parents are like, "You only come down to eat. You only come down to do
Yeah,
this."
I had
But
the same when I was growing up. Yeah,
yeah, but in reality, like I could wake up at 9 o'clock, and then I look down and it's 4:30. Like I'd have no idea because I'm
that's
just
actually how
working.
it is. Yeah, like time just flies when you're working. Like, and if you're in the same room, you don't really see the difference.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a topic that I think people have different opinions on. Some people are in favor of like trading off your health for wealth. Really, that's what it is. It's
Yeah,
building wealth.
no chance, man. I just think it's a really shit mentality to have that, because you can be successful and make a good living without sacrificing your mental health and your physical health. I
Yeah,
don't see why anyone would want to trade either like your mental or physical for the sake of a bit of spare change. Like, what's the point in that?
yeah, it's definitely interesting. I feel like the idea, like I was thinking about it that day, just reminiscing and like going over ideas. Like I feel like a cook group, if they had a big enough team and the team was all over 18, let's presume there's no kids, for example, and they're
Yeah.
all in their 20s, they could easily rent out like an office space.
One thing is with that is you got to think an office. That means you need your staff to all be in one central location, which is a pain, first of all. And then let's say your office space is going to be in London. You're looking at a few grand a month for a small office in central London, like in Soho or something.
True.
It's probably not worth the hassle. And for these kind of companies who might have, what, 15, 20K a month income and maybe 10 grand of that expenses, it's you'll lose money fast.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe not even an office. It could be just like a rent out a house or something. But yeah, I think having. But then again, like all these teams, like Cyber, for example, Lucas, yourself, Wolf, Neo, all these people aren't in the same house. It's all virtual, and it
Yeah,
kind of
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, and it loops back to our idea of like technology just being the next like the next big step. Like
Oh well, if it wasn't
yeah,
for like technology, I wouldn't have a job. Like I'd be working 9 to 5.
yeah,
So
exactly.
I'm gonna be grateful for that regardless.
Yeah, and same with me. If I didn't have access to the internet and I didn't have all these like insights, I'd definitely be stuck in shows or doing something. So
Yeah.
it's definitely interesting to see what age and when you get exposure to the internet and what effect that does have in your teenage life leading into your adult life.
One of them really weird things that no one really thinks about, do they?
Yeah,
Because of the technology being how it is and how it's advanced. And yeah, everyone just thinks it's normal when a lot of these things aren't normal to most people in their 20s who didn't have this luxury.
definitely. I mean, it's just normalized at this point, and I think it's more convenient. And obviously, humans these days they want convenience out of products, so I feel like that's the way they're kind of leaning towards. But one thing I did actually want to jump into: the market for cut groups is arguably the most saturated market in this community. There's
Oh my god, yeah.
I work pretty closely with Cop Supply, and essentially what Cop Supply is like a directory of services like groups,
Yeah.
tools. So like I go through the process of taking in new groups, and like the list is huge, and
Bloody
like
hell.
it's at the point where I'm looking through the list, and like they're all variations of each other, like the names.
Yeah, it's like they all use the same thing. It's like something notifies, something alerts, something pings. It's getting a bit, I know I can't really say anything because I only made Peachy a few years ago, but even in the past few years, all you've seen is a stupid amount of groups crop up, and they all use the same monitors. Hell, they even outsource the same guides, so everything is the exact same, and yet they're still making 15K month profit because people buy into the hype.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you look at groups, the split of members, because if you went to a normal person today in the community, you said which is the best group, they're only going to reflect on their personal experience. There's no
Exactly.
standout groups that are like, this is the best group, because like all providers are basically accommodated for selling their information and services to as many groups as possible.
Well, I think the people who win the most are those who sell their services to all these groups. Like you gotta think some of them might sell their services for $100 a month, but to 5,000 groups. And that's not even like an exaggeration. There's probably about 5,000 groups out there. And a lot of them obviously are based on Instagram, some of them Twitter, some Facebook. There's a lot more than just sneaker Twitter. And people don't really understand that. Like there's a whole network of alternative markets out there which still use Discord groups and Slack that no one really knows about.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you look at Botmart, for example, they hit 100k members like this week at the time of recording this video. So like
Bloody
that kind
hell.
of bro, like 100,000 people's in one server. That's insane. That kind of blows my mind, and it kind of challenges the idea of like how big this community really is.
Yeah, I think everyone like underestimates how this full thing. Like you got to think a lot of these bots have 100K followers, 200K followers. Groups have got 60K followers, 40K followers. Proxy companies again, 50, 60K. They're not small numbers, Like they add up quite fast, and you got to think this full little niche industry is multi-million pound, but you can't really see where it all is. It's really strange.
Definitely. I mean, I think the problem is a lot of these companies like to keep anonymous when it comes to their earnings, and you can't
Oh,
really calculate it too
yeah.
much because you got to factor in lifetimes, you got to
Well,
factor in
you've got to think a lot of these so-called companies aren't even registered, so they're all very cards close to their chest because they know fine well if they slip up and mention financials on Twitter or anything, they can get a phone call from HMRC or IRS. A lot of them. That's what annoys me is that a lot of these groups are run by kids who literally have no experience in anything legal, and they're winging it. And it's just all it takes is one phone call, one slip up, and they're done.
Yeah, I've seen like I think it was some of my friends that I know online. They run like Minecraft servers back in the day, and
Yeah.
those, for some of you guys that are interested in it or don't even know about it, like those bang money. Like you can get some easy capital doing that, and essentially, obviously, once again, kids at the time, if you don't file your tax properly or you hide your income, it just comes back to bite you. Like I think one of my friends had to pay like a 20k fine.
Yeah, it's not even unheard of, man. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's insane. But going back to what I was saying, so obviously new groups opening up every day. Essentially, what approach have you taken to keep PT at the top despite the competition being very saturated and very big?
I think all I've tried to do is the usual keeping the focus on community values, because a lot of these groups lose that aesthetic, and they're just groups with thousands upon thousands of members, and there's no sense of community or actual like friendly atmosphere. In Peachy, when you join, everyone is really friendly, really nice. It's like under 700 users, so it's a stupidly small group compared to competitors, and I think that does help a lot in terms of keeping it a bit different, and because it's just a bit shit when you join a group and there's 4,000 kids in there, and you can't talk because everyone's just typing over you and that.
Yeah, one thing I did notice about Peachy, and I know a lot of groups put this as one of their features. The feature I'm speaking about is community. Peachy has a really, really good community, in my opinion, just from me comparing it to other groups, working, other groups being involved in management. Its core community is very tight. So, like when you're going in there, it's always active. People know each other. People make friends with each other just from joining the group, and there's a lot of like positive feedback around that community aspect. So I feel like even if there's cheaper groups out there, for example, people would move to PT or groups like PT that have that community aspect just because they feel more comfortable joining it compared to some random group.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Because I think there's nothing worse than joining a new Discord server. Like even let's say you go and buy a bot, and then you join the bot server, and there's 3,000 users, and everyone's really rude and arrogant. It takes it away. Like I wouldn't want to renew, because I think I'm not going to sit in somewhere where I'm being treated like shit. Like I want to be somewhere where I can talk and conversate, make friends.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's common in this community just because of the fact that whether you want to agree with me or not, but my personal opinion is that the community in general is very egotistical. I know there's people that are like well grounded, but if you think about it, it's all focused around money. And now the problem with that is that the positives is that obviously people are making money, people are becoming millionaires in some cases at a very young
Oh
age.
yeah.
But if it's all focused about money, that's what everyone cares about. And like arguably you can argue that success post is a way of fueling your ego. You're flexing that you hit this many pairs, you spent this amount of money, and essentially I feel like the community in some ways, because it's focused around money, it does create toxicity very easily.
Yeah, I think in general it's quite a bitter and volatile industry where everyone is out to get each other. Like it's really venomous, and like in the past few years, well, when I first joined this little thing, it was pushing 5 years ago now. So back in the Stormlight days, and yeah, even then it wasn't as bad as it is now. But I think that's because it became more and more accessible, with more and more young people getting involved. And hey, I grew up back in the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 lobby days, so I'm thick-skulled and I'm not thick-skinned even.
Yeah.
I'm not even asked about the toxic everyone being toxic and whatnot, but I just think people take it a bit too far now. Like it's always death threats and threatening to dox people and shit. Like like we just fucking grow up, man.
Yeah, I think that actually, obviously, it's a common excuse that people do use on Twitter, but it's the idea that there's a lot of kids in the community, and if you threw me into this community at like 13, 14, I'd personally say that I wouldn't handle myself properly because I'm a kid at the end of the day.
Exactly, yeah.
Like the way I carry myself now is through me making mistakes in previous communities and online and learning just the way to carry yourself as a man or a woman. Like it's a learning experience, and because
Yeah, exactly.
and it goes back to that idea that these kids, some of them, it's not even their money. It's literally just their parents' cards.
Oh mate, so many of these kids come from really well-off backgrounds, and I mean, hey, fair enough, you can't really piss on someone for that. But when they come in and they act like they're self-made, when they're
Yeah,
not.
it annoys me as well because like my family are definitely well off. Like I'm not gonna obviously
Yeah,
my dad came from the UK when he was in his 20s. He worked, and I'd never take that away from him. He's one of the most hardworking people
oh,
I've ever
precisely, yeah.
known. But he's never given me any handouts. Like everything I've built was from the money I earned originally, and then it all grew from there.
Which is how it
Because
should be, yeah.
exactly, because you could be from a well-off family. There's nothing wrong with that. It's actually you should be proud of that because your parents,
Done well,
grafted.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But if you rely on them, then you're not really self-made. It's kind of just extending from the tree branch that's already been built.
Yeah,
So
exactly. But I think that's why when I see people like Michael from Notify, Jack, from Adept, Ewan from Splash Force, they're all people who didn't come from money. So it's cool seeing them do really, really well. Because I've met Michael a few times because I'm from the same town originally, and obviously, yeah, it's quite cool seeing people who aren't from the best of places do really, really well in this little community.
yeah, it's interesting. Some of the viewers may have read Ewan's. Was it? No, it wasn't Forbes. It was Business Insider, I think,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah, his article on there, and like he expressed that he didn't come from a wealthy background. So like, obviously, I know a lot of people in this community do, and obviously, everyone has their opinions on that. But it shows that if you invest in yourself and you carry yourself in the correct way, and you're smart about it, you can create a future for yourself and your family through this
oh,
community.
exactly. You got to think like these bots and stuff. They're literally making hundreds of thousands in the first year of business, and you got to think like people like Lucas, for example. I think he started coding at 15. So within what's that, 4 years, Cybersoul is what it is today, and that's only 4 years.
Yeah, that's insane. Because like for obviously I think in this community, because we're getting into it, in this community there's a very very demented way. Overall I think the way people look at money is very different to the way people outside this community look at money. Like, for example, if we take Cybersoul for example, company that's generated millions of pounds, right? You said he started coding in 2015. Cybersoul started in 2017, right? I think
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
2017.
Yeah.
3 years to make a multi. I don't know if it's multi-million.
No, I don't think it is multi-million.
You don't think? Okay,
No.
well, let's say 2 years from now it might be, maybe.
Oh,
Maybe.
in a few years' time, I reckon it will be. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Even to get the company to that point in under 10 years is like really really impressive to
Oh
say.
yeah, it's unheard of in
Yeah,
most industries.
exactly. Like there was no investment, there's no angel investors. It's actually just him sat at his desk hiring people, creating this company, and then appealing to a community, all from the
Precisely,
comfort of
yeah.
his home. Yeah, exactly. So it's definitely interesting to see what the capabilities are of this community and what you can actually make of it and how it impacts your life.
Exactly, yeah. I'm just gonna keep putting more and more work in.
Definitely. I mean, there's obviously dramatic examples of that, and we're seeing new examples pop up every day. But we spoke about Peachy quite a bit, and obviously I'm happy to see that Peachy is going in the direction it is. But aside from Peachy, has there been any other projects that you've been working on?
Currently working on two things. One involves Peachy. It's another project alongside Reese, Cascoid, and Khaled, which is Xtronic, on Twitter. Both of them guys are the ones who helped create Peachy Mobile and Peachy Filler. Um, but yeah, so the new project, which I'm not going to go into because it's under wraps right now, is releasing free of charge to all Peachy users as always. And this one might even see a public release, which is interesting because it's going to be my first public, actual product out there, which is going to be available all the time. Alongside that, obviously, we've got Surface Tools, which is owned by myself and Reese. That's currently on hold because we're just being busy with Peachy in the house. But yeah, we're not too sure on the direction that's going to be going in anymore because basically Scout, I'm sure you know who Scout is. Our ideas for Service Tools is basically everything Scout did, and we planned that in December last year. and we didn't tell anyone. And then suddenly Scout came out with everything we were going to do, and they fucking killed it, man. Like, they did such a good job of it that we decided that we couldn't compete with that, so we pulled the plug on it.
Yeah, Scout definitely changed the game. Like,
It's the most
yeah,
innovative feature, most innovative tool that came out of this industry in years. You
definitely.
know, 'cause it
Yeah,
appeals to not only people here, but those who own consignment stores or like resell like actual events. It helps them keep their inventories tidy and organized, not just resellers.
yeah. I mean, I spoke about it in a few episodes ago. The way Stray and them not just moved about that company truly is one of the highest quality products, as well as their production. Like the keynote they did a few weeks back, that was
Oh yeah,
sick.
they smashed it, man. Yeah, I think
Like,
everything they do from marketing to
mm,
actual interface design, UI, UX, they've blown it out of the bag, man. Like they've done such a solid job of that. It's really cool seeing something so refreshing come to this industry. That's not the usual. It's the bot, it's the group. It's cool seeing something so different and unique.
definitely. I mean, they are very, very unique. Obviously, we've seen examples of it pop up here and there, but I feel like Scout is definitely just unmatched in terms of how it's been marketed, like you said, how it looks, the way it moves, and they're constantly adding features to it as well.
Yeah, I don't think any other competitors are gonna come close. Like they've got the market there completely.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's fairly new. I don't think it's like 6 months old. Not even that.
Like,
Like,
yeah, they've been killing it, man. It's really cool seeing that, and they're
yeah,
all good guys too who own it.
definitely. Yeah, I spoke to a few. I spoke to like one or two of the owners when we were setting up partnerships and stuff. They're very nice people, and obviously the project does look to be something very, very big. But I'm definitely interested to see where Surface Tool goes, because I remember when you first dropped down the timeline, I was interested to see where you went with that. But
Yeah,
obviously, yeah, it's interesting because the problem is, well, not the problem, but the idea with this community is that ideas pop up all the time. So like, if we went back 2 years ago to 2018, that's when I joined. If you said to me
yeah.
that there'd be tools that monitor Discord channels that pick up links from your Twitter monitor and open it up on your browser automatically, then on your browser there's going to be an extension that checks out the product volume. Bro, I'd just be like, what are you talking about?
Like it was so like a few years ago, it was so simple, man. Like there were literally a few Discord groups which had monitors, and they were considered like this is next level stuff. Like you could monitor a website in real time on Discord. Like what the fuck? And now
Exactly.
it's stupidly common. Everyone's got them. And then obviously we had. Bear in mind, I joined this thing when there was like Stormart scripts on Reddit, and that I had asked bot basically to get past the HMSC cookie, and that was next level at the time. And I remember thinking, like, imagine like someone making bots for everything, because at the time that there was only A and B and B and B, and both of them weren't exactly the best 5 years ago, because there was nothing to do really. It was just if it worked, it worked. And now
Yeah.
you get like capture harvesters, you have bots which support pretty much every single type of store. It's next level how much the game's progressed.
Yeah, I mean, I joked around a few months back that it'll get to a point where multiple people can run multiple groups from our application. Like, imagine pushing out guides and announcements all from our application across multiple groups. Like,
Exactly, yeah.
and it sounds dumb, but that's not even far fetched because just the way everything, the community is moving. Like, if you told me that there'll be a whole industry of bot investments and bot calls and bot flips, I'd just be like, what are you talking about? Like,
Oh, can we
it's
get into
insane.
that?
Yeah, let's get into it. I'm curious to
Because
see what your opinion is.
I have really strong opinions on that shit.
Okay, go on.
Okay, so bot calls, when that first came into play, it was a very legitimate and decent little moneymaker. It was grounded. So the idea was you'd find a bot that's doing really, really well, and then you'd obviously encourage your friends or whatever to buy that bot at a certain price. And then when that bot did really, really well again on the next drop, the price would obviously go up in price, and therefore you'd sell and you'd make a bit of profit. That's fine. But the issue is now you've got groups with 3,000 members, 2,000 members, whatever, and they're saying, okay, everyone, go and buy this bot. And then it's basically pump and dumping, you know? It's very, very grey area. And I think it's quite sinister how people are doing it, because you're actually putting everyone's money at risk, like significantly. But if these kids happy doing that, they're happy doing that. But I just think it's really, really wrong. And you're also devaluing someone's hard work who's made a bot just to then decide that what bot is worth money and what bot isn't worth money.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about this before on the higher episode, and essentially, here's my problem with this. Bot flipping itself is fine. I've been doing it since literally the first day I got here. I've been doing it. It's completely fine.
Yeah.
But the problem is, firstly, this market isn't regulated, and I don't ever see it becoming regulated.
Impossible. Yeah, no chance.
If you look at Tidal, for example, Shaba, he owns a marketplace. He also owns a bot. I'm not accusing him of anything, but the problem is, if you're gonna have regulators, they have to be completely disassociated from any bot, anything.
Yeah, they can't be biased, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They have to act as a separate entity. And the second thing is that, let's say, for example, to reduce the resale market of X bot, they raise their retail price to a certain level, so the resale market isn't as big. But bro, that doesn't even work. Like Dragon, for example, is 1k retail, and it resells for 15k.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's just fucked up, man. Innit? Like, I just don't understand. Like, I get the appeal, but surely, like, it's morally wrong.
Yeah, definitely, it's morally wrong. And like, I don't know, because the problem is with market manipulation, as the prices pump up, the people that invested obviously talk about it on Twitter quite a bit as well. So like, it is benefiting the company slightly in some way, because like people are talking about it, people are seeing these prices go up. Like one recent one that was like big was Prism. So when Prism dropped their new update, that everyone was talking about it, because like a month ago it was selling for 1k, then it shot to 4k, and then that's kind of where I saw my copies at as well. But it was interesting because everyone was kind of putting their own shots in. Everyone was trying to evaluate the bot before it updated, and it's interesting. And to be fair, like we spoke about regulation, I don't think it'll ever happen, but I feel like there could be steps towards making the markets less easy to manipulate, I'd say.
I think it's impossible, because you're going to think it just takes. Let's say tomorrow I make a group, and I make it so it's free, and you get like 4,000 people join, and then you say to everyone in this group, right, we're all going to go and buy a Subsoul tomorrow. Well, we're all going to pay 4k, and because there's more of us posting the want to buys, the prices are going to drop down. And that's just supply and demand. So then the price will go down to $4,000, and then they'll own most copies on the selling market, and then they'll say, okay, now let's say 6,500. Therefore, that becomes a new benchmark price. I think it's so shit and wrong.
I did think about an idea a while ago. I'm not sure if it's gonna work. I haven't actually looked into it. So before anyone roasts me, just hear me out, alright? Just like, so what I thought about is like, what if, right? Similar to the stock market in some level. What if the market opened at a certain time and closed? So like, let's say it opened at 10 o'clock, for example, 10 a.m. and shuts at 2 p.m., right? And let's say each bot within each marketplace, each verified marketplace, by the way, verified marketplace, let's say Tidal and Botmart, let's say only 20 transactions of cyber can take place that day, whether they're selling or buying, right? And like, it sounds like a bookie idea, but what I'm trying to say is like, limiting it in some way where, like you said, 4,000 people can't just go and make the transactions and artificially raise the selling price.
Yeah, but then with that idea though, you've also got the fact that you've got actual markets like Botbroker. So what would happen to them kind of companies when you're basically operating a regulated market? Well, a unofficial regulated market.
Yeah.
It's there's no way around it, man. It's just one of them really weird things that I just think no matter what, as long as you've got bot reselling, you're going to have kids controlling the market and, trying to profit off it.
Yeah, and I think it's contributed heavily towards the entry point. Because like back in the day, like 2018, I'm saying back in the day, like it's back in the day, but 2018, bro, like I started in this community with £300 and that was fine. I managed to cop like 2 adept copies, flip those for 500 each, grow it. Now you've got no chance, bro. You've got to come with some heavy pocket.
A few years ago, you could literally just go and buy a cheap like Chrome extension, and that was more than adequate for anything. Like that would work for Shopify, for Supreme. You were golden. And then obviously our bots have got more and more advanced. They take stock a lot faster nowadays, and you got to think. Let's say you want to get in a button today, you'd have to have at least 5k spare, and that's before any like shoe capital. It's not
Yeah.
it's not being accessible, is it? Like I think it's quite unfair because if you didn't get into it a few years, well, I said 2 years ago, you're kind of out of luck, aren't you?
Bro, like if a lot of people come up to me now and say, I want to start reselling. I'm like, bro, there's no point. Like, I'm going to be completely
Yeah,
honest.
well, I,
Like,
I get friends ask me, and I'm just like, well, without being a prick, you're too late. Like, there's no point.
exactly. There's so many people in this community that don't even flip shoes anymore. It's like,
Yeah, even I've stopped doing that.
bro, because like, okay, we'll get into it. Like, I personally don't do it too much because of the fact that there's just so many other ways to make money, and like,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
you know what I mean. And it just comes down to the point that like, let's say if John wanted to get into a sneaker reselling community, John's gonna have to drop major money on a bot. He's gonna have to come well revised with proxies, servers, Gmos, everything, invest money in that. And then he's also going to have to learn how these sites work. But 1 or 2 months into it, he's still not gonna have made his money back.
Oh, no way in hell, yeah. So what's the point? Like,
Exactly.
I think nowadays, obviously, I'll run a bot for Supreme or I'll run for friends, and obviously I've got MBOS stuff. I'm in bed and something happens, I'll start testing that. But I don't go out my way anymore to set up and invest. I'll just, if I'm ready for it, I'm ready for it. If not, I'm not really that bothered. But saying
Yeah,
that, I still enjoy the satisfaction of seeing green text, you know.
definitely,
And
yeah.
then because it doesn't, you get the like the Amex notification, and that doesn't feel real because it's the credit card. It's not real money. So so all you see is like just the green text and the emails come through, and it's like being fucking 18 again, like cop and shoot for the first time.
Definitely. I mean, the dopamine hit when you get like when it's a box rug release or some big release, it's nice. I mean, I only run for pretty much major drops, like you said, like if it's worth my time, and I'm not even gonna spend a loads of time investing into the
Yeah,
drop either. Like I'm just gonna set up some tasks, set up 10 or 15 profiles, get the proxies there, let it run, see what happens. I'm not like you see some people like let's say like Tiana Paul, like she's setting up the whole transformer race ready to like destroy these releases. No hate towards her, obviously she's making bags, but like it's interesting to see the difference, like how interests have faded.
I think it was more exciting a few years ago when I didn't have the kind of like financials I have nowadays. So back then it was more of a case of I really wanted to have the money. And now
Yeah,
obviously I'm a bit older and I'm not that bothered anymore. I'm happy, I'm stable, I've got the house now. I'm not that bothered about making 20 grand on bloody Yeezys or something, like I'm
yeah.
over it. And that dream of, hitting 1,000 pairs, I'm not bothered anymore, I'm too old for it.
Yeah, I mean, it just becomes increasingly harder because more people join the market. More people start breaking these shoes. It kind of goes down that whole rabbit hole. So like, there is definitely other ways to make money, and you see people doing it. Like, I know plenty of people that just flip bots and make like huge amount of money per month.
I think the market now, if you want to make money in this industry, it's proxies, man. Like these proxy supplies, they're making bank like 5, 6 figures a month, like piece of piss. Like I'm actually jealous, man. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, well, even with proxies, they're like suppliers. From my understanding, a lot of them are just resold from
Yeah,
actual other
well,
suppliers.
as far as I'm aware, I think the most of them are just resold. But I think the hardest thing is finding a subnet or a provider that is a bit more low key that no one uses.
And then from that point, it's just marketing. You see the biggest proxy companies doing well because they just know how to market properly. If you know how to market properly, and if
You're
you have,
golden, yeah.
yeah, exactly, do some Google search engine optimization, it does well. And like, there's hundreds of, even thousands of proxy companies out there. So again, it goes back to that argument of like a saturated market and seeing how people operate in there. But I did also want to move on to obviously you spoke about, and we spoke about at the beginning, that you purchased your first home. Now, obviously when you purchase your first home, if you work at, I don't know, Co-op for example, right? Like purchasing your first home, if you have the capital and the money for it, it's pretty simple. But if you're an entrepreneur, from my understanding, it is a bit more complicated. So that's one of the
Oh
processes I
my
want to
god.
speak about. Yeah.
Well, basically, yeah, I got a mortgage. If not, I'm assuming everyone will know what a mortgage is. It's basically a loan from the bank that you pay back over 30, 40 years, and that's how you get your house. Basically, yeah, being self-employed, the amount of paperwork you must submit and evidence to prove your income, it's a pain in the ass. Like my girlfriend had to give over a few years of a normal salary, like evidence, and that went through fine, no problems. And then it came to mine, they needed 5 years, and bear in mind, 5 years ago I was only making 12K a year or so. So like I was barely over the tax bracket. So so it doesn't look good when trying to get a house. And yeah, it took a lot of paperwork, a lot of evidence, a lot of phone calls just to get the approval, which is, it's bad enough getting a house when you're working a 9 to 5 and you're constantly stable. And never mind being an entrepreneur when you're trying to do it because they just look down on you.
Yeah, I mean, in the UK, my general opinion is that they don't really support entrepreneurs, in my opinion.
No,
Anyway.
no way, yeah.
And it's kind of like, obviously, I'm not some huge entrepreneur that owns this big business, but like at the same time, it's very annoying. It's extremely annoying when it comes to it because honestly, like they should be supporting entrepreneurs. Like they're creating jobs. You know what I mean? Like imagine if, for example, imagine if Peachy didn't exist. There's tons of people in there. Like let's say Reese, for example, the opportunities he's been given from Peachy will not be there, and that's creating income in the economy. He's supporting himself. Obviously, he can support whoever. It's creating jobs. Entrepreneurs create jobs. So I don't really see why they're not being supported.
And even like the tax brackets. So let's obviously Peachy is like an LTD, so that doesn't really take into consideration. This is something else. But let's say you're self-employed in the UK, and you make the bracket is what I think it's 50,000.
Yeah, 50,000.
After you make 50 grand, your bracket's doubled to 40%.
Yeah, I'm
Every
pretty sure it is.
penny you make after 50 grand is taxed at 40%. So where's the incentive to make more than 50k a year?
Yeah, exactly.
No, so let's say you make 100k. Let's do the maths. This doesn't even include. Oh yeah, so let's say you make 100k. Take away your normal 20% on the fair 50, and then plus the 5% on the rest, so the 60,000. You're paying like over 30,000 in tax.
Yeah.
like what? And that's just income tax. Like, what's the point?
Yeah, see, that's one of the main reasons why I kind of want to move out of the UK, like in next 2 to 3 years. But at the same,
yeah, I was going to say, given the current EU status, you're probably better moving soon.
Yeah, I don't know, it's all a bit, it's all up in there because like, if you were to get into it, like in the UK we get free healthcare, for example. But,
precisely, yeah.
And then if you go to the US, okay, lower tax brackets, obviously we pay a bit of state tax as well, but then you have to pay for healthcare. Like if I break my leg, bro, I ain't trying to pay 10 racks to fix it.
Exactly, yeah,
You know
no chance.
So, I think every place has its ups and downs, but I feel like the entrepreneur scene in the UK is definitely something that should be looked at.
Yeah, but I think you got to think though. It's not even that. It's also the art and entertainment. Like, so the full sector that surround us, even that's like looked down upon nowadays, and it's a bit weird how they're just pissing on those who are trying to do better for themselves.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like this is getting like really deep, but like in my opinion, anyway, they just try to fit you into that system of having like a 9 to 5 job and just doing all this normal shit, and it just pisses me off because it's like I don't want to do that, you know what I mean? And then I don't do that, and then tax comes in, all this comes in, they don't even trust you, liability, like it just annoys me. But like
there's no point. Yeah,
exactly, it's just stupid. But let's shift back to these questions. So talking about entrepreneurship and stuff like that, obviously your personal life, if someone were to come to you today and they wanted to be mentored by you of how to create their business, whether it's in this community, outside this community, as well as trying to balance their personal life and their hobbies and all that, what would you advise them to do?
I'd say first things first is to just learn the basics before you do anything. Just learn some basic law, learn some basic marketing, learn some strategy, because that kind of thing pays off big time. And it's worthwhile sitting down for a few weeks and just learn about, like intellectual property. So like, even just learn to draft how to draft the basic C and Ds, and like terms and conditions, privacy policy, that kind of thing. Because you can pay good money for that kind of thing, but you can also do it yourself. And I think that's the one thing, is obviously learning how to market and control a business. And then the other side of it would be to just balance, try and find a good shift between working your ass off and having a personal and a social life, because the two can intertwine if you try.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, you have plenty of kids. Like, for example, myself, I go to college, I go to gym, I maintain a social life, and I also work as well. But, I think a lot of people just need to not slip into the mindset of toxic hustle. So, like, yeah, the money's coming in, but you need to look at the effects it has on your mental health.
Exactly. And why make money if you're going to sit there and just let it build up? Just enjoy it. Do something, fun with it.
Exactly. Like, I'm probably a victim of this. Well, not a victim, sorry, but a culprit of this. Like, for a good amount of time, I was just stacking money, and after a while, I was like, what am I going to do with it realistically? Like, I need to, invest, I need to do something with it. So obviously, I think your mindset is just going to change as you do it more, as you get more experience, and, as you tackle new hurdles every single day, as being an entrepreneur, everything comes up. There's problems every single day. You wake up to certain things. So it's definitely interesting to see how different people live their lives. Like, one thing I noticed about you as well, and it kind of interested me at first, because I don't see any other owners doing this that I know of. You, on Friday evenings, you say like an announcement, okay, I'm signing off for the weekend, and you take the weekend off basically. Like,
oh yeah, I think because a few years ago I used to I'd work 7 days a week, 16-hour days, and it took a toll on me. So I think now I try, and every Friday afternoon I sign off. I said, everyone have a good weekend. If you need any assistance, you can open tickets or you can email, and I'll get back to you still. But I'm not going to be active in the chat. And I think it's good to just have that boundary where you can step away for a few days. And because at the end of the day, everyone needs some time off. You can't just work 7 days a week and allow it. You need to just relax, have some you time.
definitely. I mean, and then you don't want to burn out as well, because once you burn out, it becomes like this 5-day fog of like, I don't want to work, and then that affects the business. So maybe taking 1 or 2 days off a week just to like relax and like calm the
Yeah, I
mind.
think it's just a way to just do, just do anything you want to do. Just you can take 2 days off, the world isn't going to burn down,
Yeah, exactly. I feel like a lot of people feel like that though. They don't understand the fact that you can delegate work, you can just like let it go just for a little bit. Yeah.
Even for like an hour, just take some time off, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see the different approaches people take, and obviously you see effects of that all the time. Obviously, you see people that you see entrepreneurs outside this community that have talked about in their earlier years where their mental health has suffered, and that affects them later in life. Obviously, there's a lot of young people in the scene right now, so they won't really see the effects, but they could be potentially building up habits that are going to be really detrimental in the future.
Sure. Like sleeping habits. Obviously, I used to I'd wake up at 3-4 p.m. in the afternoon, and I'd work until 7-8 in the morning, and that's no way to live. You're literally waking up at the end of the day, and then working through the night. And I think there's quite a lot of people out there now who do the same thing in this community. Yeah, and I'm glad I changed mine, because now I wake up before 10 a.m. and I'm in bed by 12. It's much better, much healthier.
Definitely, I feel like obviously it sounds stupid, but setting a bedtime, like honestly, if you say to yourself in your head like, "Yo, I need to clock off by this time," it works really well, and you can just get your sleep in. You can wake up, get a nice breakfast, and then hit the day instead of instead of waking up at like you don't even know what time it is. You look at your phone, it's 2:32 p.m.
Exactly, you sleep in and then you just feel drained.
Exactly.
And then I know if I sleep in, I feel as if I've pissed the day away, and then I just feel like a bit miserable for wasting the day.
Exactly. Just going to bed at a decent time, waking up early, attacking the day is definitely the best way to go about it.
Yeah, exactly, man. Yeah, definitely.
So to go ahead and wrap up the episode, one last thing that I do want to touch on is some more advice for the viewer. So if there's someone in the community right now that is going to bring out a new product, regardless if it's a group, bot, tool, proxy company, whatever it is, what is your advice to them in this current climate?
Ooh, I'd say try and find a really original idea, something unique and innovative, something that's not being done currently. You got to think a lot of these groups just have the same things, or these toolkits have the same tools, or it's becoming a very competitive market. You need something a bit different, something that makes you stand out. Unfortunately, branding alone isn't good enough. You need a bit more than a good looking like a brand. You need all sorts, man. And I just think a lot of these people just underestimate the idea that yes, it might sell and it might make you some money, but it's not long term.
Definitely.
So yeah, I think just create something new, something different. Just take a chance. If you have a feature or an idea, just do it. Just try it out. If it works, it works. If not, it doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, most of the ideas that are pretty common in this community were very far-fetched like a year ago. And obviously, you've seen tons of these tools and ideas become the regular norm now. So it's definitely worth taking that shot in the dark and seeing where it leads.
Well, you got to think nowadays. Like I said, with Cop Supply, you can go on there and you can get like a toolkit for your group. You can get a Chrome extension for your group and just rent it. So everyone can have every feature everyone else has got. But the best thing is to have it in-house, maintained in-house by your own developers. You can add features faster. It's going to cost you a bit more, but you've got like a working relationship with one developer or a small dev team. As I said before, it just builds up the environment. It gives it a better aesthetic. Everything's done. It's maintained where you want it to be maintained. You're not waiting for an updates.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of groups go down the way of just renting out stuff, which is fine. But obviously, doing that in-house stuff, like you said, is more of a beneficial option because you have that obviously the relationship with the developer. You can implement your own ideas, and overall, like users do pick up on it. Like if a user's in 3 groups and they're using the same tools from the same company, they will pick up on it. If you have your own stuff, obviously, it's unique, and then they'll spot out. So guys, that goes ahead and wraps up today's BotTalk episode. Quickly before we go ahead and end it off, I want you guys to go down below into the description and check out Curty's Twitter and Peachy's Twitter. Go ahead and check them out. I highly recommend it. If you guys enjoyed today's episode, please drop a like, subscribe if you guys are new. I'm going to catch you guys next time. Peace out.